Hi, Professor Mark McIntire here again, and today it's time to consider the importance of being able to make valid intellectual distinctions. We make distinctions every day in our life, and it's important to develop this skill, because when we make a valid distinction between ideas or concepts or categories of things, or even members of categories of things, we actually are providing the insight into what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for making that distinction. For instance, what's the distinction between a publisher and an editor, or an editor and a reporter? Do you know the distinction between a liberal politically and a conservative politically? Do you know what a libertarian really is? Well, the only way you can make these distinctions is to actually find the one set of conditions that separates one thing from another. That's what making a distinction is. Now, I've put together these 20 distinctions for critical thinkers over the last 25 years of my teaching. They're not written in stone. In fact, many of my colleagues disagree with me as to whether or not these are valid distinctions, and they have very kindly offered their criticisms to me, which I do reflect upon, and I try to make these better each year, so I work at it. Now, read these over and find out, have I captured the necessary and sufficient conditions for making these distinctions, or haven't I? And if you find that they're deficient, be so kind as to sit down and write out your own distinctions and the reasons why you think that your distinctions are better than mine. Knowledge and belief, for instance. What's the distinction between an explanation and an argument? When you go through this process, you're actually finding the necessary and sufficient conditions for making these separations. So, spend a few moments looking at them, because you'll see some of them on our online exam number 1 coming up, Basic Logic Concepts, and you're certainly going to want to be ready for that. Also, when you do this work, you're actually beginning to build your own journal of your life of ideas, which I highly recommend in this class. This is really how you begin taking apart what you think and what you believe. Oh, that's another distinction. Okay, better get to work.